We're blessed to have senior graduating students from Prairie View A&M University. Faith Mission serves as a nonprofit training center. So we have Trinity Brooks from Fort Worth, Texas, Destiny Stanley from Dallas, Texas, Kayla Middleton from Beaumont, Texas, and Akira Tucker, who's from Marlin, Texas. They'll be with us for 10 weeks doing 400 hours of internship at Faith Mission.
Well, congratulations. We are so delighted that you were able to join us this morning. What lovely guest, and what an honor it is to have you with our Board of Trustees meeting. And if you're looking for extra activities to do, give me a call. We'll be happy to have you all do all kinds of things on behalf of Blinn. Thank you again for your presence this morning. Well, trustees, if I may, I'd like to move over to our facilities update. These are the construction projects that are currently taking place across the college district. At Prairie Lee Hall, the overall project is approximately 95% complete. The remaining site work activities include the completion of miscellaneous concrete flat work, irrigation, and landscaping. Building A has passed all city and state inspections, and the units are substantially complete. The contractor currently is addressing punch list items. The Building B interior finishes are being completed in the lobby area, and this project, trustees, remains on schedule for substantial completion in June next month, with final completion scheduled for August the 4th. And over to Leroy Dryer Field, the structural concrete pours are complete. The installation of conduit pathways, sanitary plumbing, and storm water lines are in progress. The erection of new steel began yesterday, and renovations to the concession stand and restrooms continue. This project is scheduled for completion in November of 2022. And to Old Main. At the Old Main building, construction on the first and second floors is nearing substantial completion. Carpet and tile installation are complete, and a portion of the delayed light fixtures have arrived and they are currently being installed. Paint touch-up, wood trim staining, restroom tile installation, and construction cleanup all are in progress. The reframing of the bell tower is ongoing, and the bell is scheduled to be returned for installation this month in May. The elevator materials are on order, and upgrades to the elevator are scheduled for late June and July. Furniture for the first and second floors will arrive for installation beginning later this month, while the furniture for the third and fourth floors will arrive for installation in June. This building is scheduled to be ready for occupancy in August of 2022. And at the Bryan Campus Administration Building, the architect has completed the schematic design package and is presenting this package to the construction manager at risk for preliminary pricing. The architect will then continue into the design development phase. Engineering consultants are beginning to engage in design, including preliminary structural design, site work design, site utilities, and preliminary building systems. This administration building, trustees, is scheduled for completion in November of 2023. And over to the Rellis Campus Administration Building. The interior work continues with the installation of millwork, flooring on level 3, fabric wrapped ceiling panels, and ceiling tiles. The HVAC is fully operational and is now cooling the building. Nice timing, don't you think? Outside the facility, the Circle Drive was poured earlier this month, and this project is scheduled for occupancy in August in advance of the fall 2022 semester. And trustees, if I may, I'd like to move over now to the front podium and ask Chair Colcourse to join me. Trustees, we are joined today by 3 employees who recently announced their retirements after a combined 95 years of service to Blinn College and its students. And I would like to tell you about them and their Blinn careers before we take their photos, if I may. So I'd like to begin first with James Harville. James, won't you please come forward and stand over there next to Trustee Ehlert? Tough one. This is a tough one, trustees, today. James has announced his retirement, trustees, after 29 years as Director of Food Service on the Brenham campus. During that time, James and his team have provided daily food service for students and employees, even when weather events occurred, such as hurricanes and freezes and otherwise times when we've had to close the campus. Blen's food services are so well recognized within the community that visitors come to campus to eat in our campus dining hall. And I receive frequent compliments from people within the community who rave about the wonderful food at Blinn. And also, you know, we have so many community events, and Blinn always caters them, or most of them. And we can't leave without hearing people talk about the event was great, but the food was fabulous. So thank you, James. Richard Cervantes, Vice Chancellor for Business and Finance and CFO, said, quote, James will always be remembered for his exceptional service to our students and to this institution. On behalf of the Division of Business and Finance, I would like to thank James for his superior leadership and selfless dedication to our students and our institution. James, thank you for all that you have done for our faculty, our staff, our students, and our community. And we wish you much joy and happiness as we thank you for your years of service to Blen. And I should note, trustees, that we do anticipate, with a little bit of arm twisting, that James will come back to work for us part-time after he comes back from retirement. So James, I know that you would like to have an opportunity to thank the Board of Trustees, and they would like to have an opportunity to shake your hand and thank them as well. So won't you please, trustees, please stand and acknowledge James's retirement. And James, I believe Elaine, your precious wife, is here today. Would you like for her to come forward as well? And we'll take a photo together. And trustees, if you don't mind, if you'll just scoot to the middle a moment. And James, also, I know that Trustee Colcourt, as chair of the Board of Trustees, would like to say something and also give you a little gift.
James, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we can't thank you enough for your dedication to Blen. I cannot remember an event that was taking place here at Blen at the Student Center that you weren't there, that you weren't serving food and encouraging your team to do a great job. And that'll be missed. You know, it'll be tough shoes to fill. I'm going to open this now, but I think we've got a special watch for you.
James, is there anything that you would like to say this morning?
Just thank you all for being here. Thank you, board. Thank you, Dr. Hensley. Thank you, Mr. Cervantes. And we'll see y'all at Lake Conroe.
All right.
And 1, 2, 3. And just one more time. 1, 2, 3.
And thank you for being here today. Carolyn Slaughter, won't you come forward, please, and join us by Trustee Ehlert. Trustees, Carolyn has announced her retirement after 35 years with Blen College. She joined Blen as a dishwasher in 1986, and she became a cook's assistant in 1994. James Harville, Director of Food Services, said, quote, Carolyn brings an amazing attitude to work each day. She always has a smile on her face, and she is an excellent employee. Carolyn, thank you for your amazing 35 years of service to Blen College. I know that there are literally thousands and thousands of students who would like to personally give you a hug and thank you for all of the great food that you have provided to us. And on behalf of the Blinn College District and all of our faculty and staff and students, please know how grateful we are to have you at Blinn. And trustees, I believe with a little additional arm twisting that Carolyn is also going to come back part-time after she enters into her retirement. So Carolyn, I think the trustees would like to thank you as well. If you don't mind, if you would visit with each one of them. I love it. You can tell this is a lady who knows how to work behind the scenes and get things done.
Quit cooking now, are you? Oh, I will come back and cook eggs, grits, and oatmeal.
Come here, you. I haven't had a hug since Friday either. Oh, he gets to pull rank. Well, I believe Chair Colkhorst would like to say a few words to you, Carolyn, okay?
Carolyn, working behind the scenes like you did for 35 years is not an easy thing to do. And all I can say is I know James would know more than anyone else how valuable somebody like you is that shows up for work every day and helps to do the things that you have to do to make sure our kids are fed and they have what they want. And all I can say is thank you for your dedication to Blinn College very much. Thank you. Got a special gift for you.
Oh, okay.
I think you want to say a few words.
Thank you, Caroline. It's so good to have you with us, and we so enjoyed your party last Friday also. And I'd like to know if you'd like to say anything, and if you have anyone here that you would like to introduce.
Brenda, I want to introduce my friend Brenda Johnson, please. Okay. Yeah, I've been knowing Brenda Johnson ever since I started working here, and I've been helping out everywhere that they need me to do. I do. I've been helping out in the kitchen everywhere. Help all the people that need some help. I ask, need some help? I say, yeah, I need help. That would take me. I'll be asking them.
And we all know that about you. You're such a great person, and you always pitch in and offer to help. So we're so appreciative of you. Well, let's take a photo together, shall we?
All right, I'll count to 3 and 1, 2, 3. And just one more time. 1, 2, 3.
Now you're going to wonder, because this third retiree today is Janie Vasquez. Janie, won't you come forward also, and please stand next to Trustee Ehlert. The reason that I think you might wonder is because Janie also is from food service. And Janie has announced her retirement after 31 years of service at Blinn College, 31 years. She joined the staff in 1991 as a cook and a cafeteria worker and became a shift supervisor in 2000. And in 2003, she added the snack bar attendant to her shift supervisor duties. And in 2014, she became the assistant food services manager. And Director of Food Services James Harville said, quote, "Janie is loved by all of the students and the staff. She has worked in every department in food services and has overseen weekend services for over 30 years while also running the concession. Janie, I sometimes don't see you every day in the cafeteria, but I always see you at the concession at our athletic events. And the students line up at the Cruci Center upstairs to get to the concession center. And I always see her and while I'm munching on warm buttered popcorn. So Janie, we're going to miss you. Trustees, though, the good news is that Janie also plans to come back and do some part-time work for Blen. And I just want to say thank goodness to all of them that they are planning to come back, because these are three people of long time service who are leaving the college at the end of this month. And I can't imagine not seeing the three of you. Janie, thank you so much for 31 years, 31 incredible years at Blinn College. On behalf of our Board of Trustees, our faculty and our staff and our administration, we thank you so very much for all that you have done with your continually smiling face every single day. And I know that our trustees would like to have the opportunity to thank you as well. So won't you choose your path, which way you desire, and let them have a chance to say hello this morning. And I think your son Marcus and your daughter-in-law Tricia are here. Would you like to invite them up to join us? And anyone else you have that? And I'm going to give the granddaughter, and I'll let you introduce them in just a moment. But as before I do, let me have Trustee Colchris please say a few words on behalf of the board.
Janie, thank you for your service. I hope this is not a trend in food service, James. But you know, I know that you're always at those baseball games. That's where I seem to see you most often. And you know, 30 years is a tremendous accomplishment. I'm really happy that you are going to be coming back and helping us though sometime on a part-time basis. Thank you, and enjoy your retirement.
And Janie, wants to introduce who's here with you today, and then also we'd invite you to share a few words if you would like.
Well, I have here with me my son, my younger son Marcus, and his daughter. And this is my other son's wife, Tricia. I just wanted oh, okay. I just want to thank you, everybody, especially James and all my supervisors from Blinn College. I'm really going to miss everybody because I enjoy working with them.
Thank you so very much. And let's take a photo.
I'll count to three, and 1, 2, 3, and one more time. 1, 2, 3. Perfect, thank you.
Janie, in about 18 years, we'll see your granddaughter entering Blen. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for being here today. Trustees, this is a loss for Blen. These are three enormously key people to the food services department, especially at the Brenham campus. But as I mentioned a moment ago, James plans to come back, and he will be housed primarily out of the Bryan and Rellis campuses up in College Station. And then Janie and Caroline will be back also. So we're just saying goodbye temporarily and welcoming back in about a month or so. Well, in the spirit of celebration, we have something very exciting to announce today. Last month, trustees, the NJCAA Men's Golf Association, Coaches Association, named Blen Men's and Women's Golf Coach David Johnson to his Hall of Fame class of 2022. Coach Johnson was recognized for a career that spans 38 years. I'm going to wait till we get his picture up there. There we go. In 2019, Coach Johnson came to Blen to launch the Buccaneers men's and women's golf teams. And since his arrival, he has led both teams to national tournament appearances and guided the men's team to back-to-back Region 14 championships since 2019. Amazing. So I'd like to offer congratulations to Coach Johnson and to Athletic Director Scott Schumacher on this very well-deserved accolade. And I'd like to invite both of them. Coach Johnson, if you would like to come forward and share a few words with the Board of Trustees. And I have your plaque, trustees, to show you for this amazing honor. And we'll take a picture with him in just a few minutes. So Coach Johnson, won't you come forward at this time, please?
Speak right here, okay. Just like to thank you, Board of Trustees, for, and Dr. Hensley for starting the golf program here at Blen, and Coach Schumacher for hiring me as the first head coach here. It's quite a task, but this honor right here belongs to you guys, Coach Schumacher. Mostly it belongs to Coach Johnson at home, my wife, Amy. So putting up with 38 years of coaching. So, but it really belongs to all the players. Nothing that I've done. So it's an honor to be here with you guys today, and I appreciate y'all having us here.
Thank you. We're so proud of you. Won't you step forward and take a photo? And we will take a photo. And Coach Schumacher, if you'd come forward also, we'd like to include you in the photo. And I know Coach McBride came for moral support. Coach McBride, would you like to join us in the photo? And Coach Johnson, do you have anyone else here with you today? Amazing, amazing championship and winning team since you've been here with us since 2019. On behalf of all of us, we thank you so very much.
All right, I'll count to three, and 1, 2, 3, and just one more time, 1, 2, 3. Perfect, thank you. All right, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Trustees, we are also joined today by Jay Anderson, Vice Chancellor for Health Sciences, Technical and Community Education, and by Mary Pace, Director of Adult Education and Literacy. Now, through a partnership with the Brazos Valley Council of Governments, the Blen College Adult Education and Literacy Program provides educational support and opportunities for students who perhaps lack a high school credential, or they want to enhance their basic reading, writing, and arithmetic or math skills, or they want to develop or improve their ability to speak or write or understand the English language. And perhaps they're seeking career training, a high school equivalency GED, or college preparation. And to this end, Blen's Adult Education and Literacy Department partners with the Texas Workforce Commission, Workforce Solutions, and nonprofit agencies to provide training and opportunities for these very special students. At this time, I would like to invite Vice Chancellor Anderson and Director Pace to share additional details and to introduce the students in attendance today.
Chair Cole, of course, trustees, Dr. Hensley, good morning all. I have with me today two teams from the Health Sciences, Technical Education, Community Programs. The first team will be representing adult educational literacy, and I have Director Mary Pace will be delivering an overview. We also have with us today, excuse me, we have Pilar Walker, Program Manager. We have Janet Montgomery, an instructor with adult education literacy. Please stand if you would, please. We also have Amanda Rodriguez and Leslie Medina. Let's welcome them. With that, trustees, I'll step aside, and Director Mary Pace has the podium for an overview.
Good morning, trustees, Dr. Hensley, and vice chancellors. My name is Mary Pace. I'm the Director of Adult Education and Literacy, and today we'll be presenting AEL, Adult Education. So as the chancellor spoke, adult AEL program consists of many different services. High school equivalency or GED, English as a second language, workforce training. We have corrections instruction at Brazos County Jail, and we have intensive services. Intensive services are special services that we provide to a special group of individuals. In our case, that is ESL for professionals. Those are individuals that have terminal degrees in their home country. They're doctors, they're attorneys, they are teachers, they're engineers, and they need to learn English better in order to transition into this country. We are part of a consortium funded by Brazos Valley Council of Governments through a grant by the Texas Workforce Commission. Blen College is the AEL provider for the counties of Robertson, Leon, Brazos, Burleson, Grimes, and Washington counties. Although most of our students choose to attend class remotely, we do have classroom locations throughout the service area. Since our relocation from the Bryan Adult Learning Center on Palisada Drive to the Blen College Post Office campus, our performance has nearly doubled. We believe the major improvement in our performance is a result of the post office campus being centrally located in the heart of Bryant College Station with access to public transportation. It also allows our students to interact with other Blen College students, staff, and faculty while introducing them to post-secondary programs offered by the college. It allows us also to promote and invite and provide an inviting atmosphere for prospective students, resulting in positive impact on our student enrollment. Our students love it. They love the campus. Next slide. This slide compares the program's performance from last year to this program year. Major transformation. As you can see, we received an increase between 2021 to 21-22, increase of funding of approximately $90,000 in funding. Our enrollment increased by almost 300 students, and we still have a month and a half left in this program year. Our students that are co-enrolled in workforce training, which consists of courses such as clinical medical assistant, phlebotomy, pharmacy technician, and facilities maintenance, that increased from last program year to this year by 19. And we still have a pharmacy technician and facilities maintenance class scheduled for May and June of this year. Last program year, we had 10 students that earned a GED. With still a month and a half left of this program year, we've had 23 students obtain their GED thus far this program year. Students with the measurable skills gain, that means they show some type of educational level gain from a pre-test to a post-test. Either they've obtained their GED or they earned a workforce training certificate or even transitioned into post-secondary. Last program year, we had 132 measurable skills gains. With time remaining again in this program year, our MSGs have more than doubled. We're at 273. AEL students can easily transition from receiving AEL services to becoming a Blen student, because at the time of program enrollment, they receive a student Blen identification number and access to Blen student services, resources. Last but not least, AEL ended last program year, 2021, ranked 12th best in class. This year, we are currently ranked 4th best in class and are pursuing a higher ranking. We are ranked fourth best in class out of 38 grantees in the state of Texas. We're looking forward to our next contract for planned continuous improvement. I would like to, the transition in adult ed would not have been possible without the leadership of Vice Chancellor Anderson and Dean Flanagan. It definitely would not be possible without the teamwork of the instructors and the staff. And we love our students, and it would not be possible without them who put in the hard work. So I would like to personally thank them. So last but not least, I would like to introduce two adult ed students that would like to talk about their experience while in the program. First, we'll have Amanda Rodriguez, and then we'll have Leslie Medina.
Good morning. I'm Amanda Rodriguez. I'm from Brazil, and I arrived here in the United States last year in December, and since then I'm attending the ESL classes. When I first arrived here, I was very afraid to speak in English, to talk in English with natives. I was thinking that I wasn't able to speak in English, and I was afraid to do things by myself here in the country. I was afraid doing things like going to the market and talking on the phone with natives. And the program has helped me a lot with that since then. But besides that, I think my goal in this program is to improve my English in order to get better opportunities in my work. Actually, I'm military. I'm from Brazilian Air Force, and I'm here in an unpaid leave because my husband had to come here for pursuing a master's degree. So I'm here with him. But as soon as he's finished his master, I'll be joining back the Air Force, the military. And I always wanted to apply and to volunteer for humanitarian missions and for peace operations. But for that, I need to be fluent in English, and I'm not. But Blinn is helping a lot with that. And I can see when I arrived here, actually, I was thinking about studying English and also French, because French is a good language to learn and to speak in these operations. But when I saw the high level education that I had in Blinn with my English classes, when I saw how dedicated the teachers were, all the support that I had in the program, I forgot about the French classes, and try to focus only in my English class, because I think that what I have here is a huge opportunity that I think I won't have it anymore in my life. So I'm very, very grateful for this program. And the teachers for me are the best that I have. All in my life, in my entire life, I never saw so dedicated teachers. I can see that they really care about us. They're always ready to help us in anything here. So I'm very grateful for this program, and I can see that I'm improving a lot here. So thank you very much. I got it.
Hi, my name is Leslie Medina. I was born in Lerdo, Durango, Mexico. You see, when I first got here into the United States, I didn't know any English. I didn't know any English. The only language I knew how to speak was Spanish. And unfortunately, when I went to school, I was placed in special ed. Due to a physical disability, I was placed in special ed. As you can see, I was born with cerebral palsy. Unfortunately, I wasn't given the opportunity to have a successful life in the community. So this is why I enrolled in Blinn College Adult Education. I believe that anybody with a disability has the opportunity to dream big, and I stand that I believe that my mission here on this earth is to set a big example for others and for anybody in the community.
Help you find your place.
So at one point, I wanted to give up, and I told Miss Janet, I honestly think I couldn't do this anymore. I honestly told her that I couldn't do this anymore. It was just too hard. And so Miss Janet said, you have to keep on going. This is your future. You have a bright future ahead of you. And I honestly told her, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not planning to quit. So my plan is to continue my education with the help of all my teachers of Blinn College Adult Education. And as soon as I graduate, I plan to start a program with people with disabilities because I believe in that we all deserve the opportunity to have a successful life in society. And by the grace of God, I thank you for allowing me to speak, and I thank you for allowing me to be a Blinn College student.
Chair Colcourse, trustees, Dr. Hensley, the second program that we would like to showcase relates to Give Kids a Smile. We'll be hearing from, we have Dean Trubenstein. If you would, please stand so we can acknowledge. We have Dean Trubenstein, Dana Wood, who is a dental hygiene professor. We have Lauren Denham, and we have Sydney Wadenager. Is that correct? And the two students would be Sydney, and they'll be presenting as well, and I'd like to acknowledge. And if I could just do a brief rewind, I did not see Dean Flanagan's name on the AEL card, so I'd like Dean Flanagan to stand also just for a sense of appreciation. Thank you. With that, I'll step aside from the podium and hand this over to, let me see, this is going to be Dana.
Good morning. I see you in here somewhere. Good morning. My name is Dana Wood. I have been a member of the faculty for the dental hygiene program. I was actually on the board of directors at its first discussion, moved into part-time, and then left private practice to teach full-time. We started Give Kids a Smile as a national initiative. It's through the American Dental Association. I'm an ambassador for the United States for Give Kids a Smile. And so the students got together in 2009 and thought, how can we give back to our community? Because Blen really focuses on caring for their community. So we came up with the idea for Give Kids a Smile. The Give Kids a Smile, as you can see, was launched nationally in 2003, provides underserved children with free oral health care. About 6,500, I think now that number is more closer to 8,000, and 30,000 dental team members volunteer. This is all aimed at families who have no opportunities to receive care, whether it be financial, transportation, whatever it might be. So we decided we wanted to do something for the families of the Brazos Valley, Brenham, anyone that wants to come is welcome. We also have had families from Franklin, Hearn, surrounding areas come to participate in our program. Today, it's over 300,000 children, and 2021 data told us
over $15 million in donated dental services for the whole program. But the best part's yet to come, because I call our program small but mighty. We have been a big contribution in the field of community colleges where that program pertains to. So here's some data for you, because it's all about the data, right? Blinn is one of 33 dental hygiene programs in the entire United States to host Give Kids a Smile. We are the only program that has had one 10+ years. We just participated in our 12th year, would have been more, except COVID shut us down for 2 years. We didn't get to participate. In hosting Give Kids a Smile for more than 10 years, we are in the top 5%. And I will tell you, I go to meetings where we have many, many colleges there that teach dental hygiene. We are the only successful program to date that has operated year in, year out. And I stopped counting the number of families that we are their only opportunity for them to receive care. So Blinn, small but mighty, has contributed to so many families' overall health in the Brazos Valley and surrounding areas. So I'm very proud of that. Here's a little bit of our data from what we've done. We began in 2009, except for the 2 years from COVID. This is our 12th program that we had in 2022. 336 students, more than 500 volunteers, and over 800 children's lives have been changed for the better for health services. 786 cleanings, 800 exams, fluoride treatments, 773, x-rays, 764, and almost 2,000 pit and fissure sealants for children in need in the Brazos Valley. $240,448 simply from Blinn alone has been contributed to the health of our children in the Brazos Valley. This is our 2022 Give Kids a Smile. Thanks to, one thing I would like to say is, it's not just our students who organize this, plan this, and make it run well. We have so many people behind the scenes, our administration, our IT people, the police, the HVAC, everyone at Blinn has contributed to the success of this program. The Brazos Valley community, dentists, dental hygienists, dental assistants, administrative staff. I have staff that show up every single year. This year we limited our participation because of COVID, and I can't even tell you how many volunteers I turned away because they know it comes this time of year. What can we do? What can we help? Local dentist, Dr. Kretz Scassa, Dr. Stephen Wright. I walk in their office and they hand me a check and say, what do you need? So without that support, our program would not be near as successful, besides our amazing students, as you see back here. But the why that we do this is because dental disease is very prevalent among lower socioeconomic families. They are often choosing between, can we pay our rent or can we attend to our child's dental needs? It's very heartbreaking when you see these families in our clinic and they know that they have no opportunity to provide that care. For most of us, it's simply making a phone call, and being a little bit inconvenienced when your dental office calls. For these families, it is truly act of love for their kids to try to provide for them things they know that it might be hard to do. So we have a video that I'm going to show you that our wonderful people made. If I can get this going. So this is a synopsis of our this year's 2022 Give Kids a Smile.
As a clinician, there is no more important instrument than your own eye, always straining to detect, diagnose, and determine the best course of treatment. Be confident you're seeing the complete picture of your patient's health with TrueColor by Oroscoptic. Vibrant 90 CRI illumination is
Here at Give Kids a Smile, the 12th annual program by Blinn College dental hygiene students. We have 70 kids scheduled today. We'll have a few extra walk-ins we'll try to accommodate, and they will receive their x-rays, their cleaning, their dental sealants. This is a fully funded and donated services program. The dentists, the Dental Society, and the Dental Hygiene Society provide us with funding, provide us with supplies, provide us with volunteerism, and we could not do it without them. Give Kids a Smile is completely run and formulated and designed by Blinn students, and it's always successful, and they do a wonderful job.
One of our biggest goals this year was to make dental care fun, because for a lot of these kids, this might be their first dental cleaning ever, and I know it can be kind of an overwhelming experience. So as soon as they walk in, there's music playing, there's we got smiley faces on, and then we got a row full of prizes. We do kind of make the appointment quick and easy as best as we can and keep it all upbeat. And then on the way out, of course, we also have all this oral hygiene instruction and aids, as well as goodie bags full of fun stuff for the kids. Seeing the kids smiling and happy and excited, it's been very rewarding, and I think it's taught me a lot about, you know, when I go out into the workforce, how can I apply this professionally, and how can I be an asset to my community, and how can I volunteer my time. And so I think it was incredibly valuable to me, and I'm sure to my classmates as well, who helped out with this entire thing.
You can review content from Crash Course Anatomy and Physiology with the Crash Course app, available now for Android and iOS devices.
Hello, everybody. I think that we have begun the live stream now.
As you can tell, this is very important to me, being an ambassador for Give Kids a Smile, but I'm most proud of our students and the hardworking dedication. Every year we have students, former students, come back and work. They don't miss a year, but I wanted you to hear from Lauren Denham, she has graduated and is on to bigger and better things. Her reflection, she was the chair this year for the program. And then we have Sydney, who is a first-year student, like a second-year student now, who's going to be the chair next year. And I wanted you to hear their thoughts and feelings about how it matters to them as they go from Blen into their professional life and take this service learning with them.
Hello. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'm Lauren Denham, and I'm no longer a student, actually. Feels weird to say still, but I was a second-year student and the coordinator for Give Kids a Smile, the student coordinator this year. Just a brief reflection on kind of what it meant to me. It is indescribable how proud I am of the charity, kindness, and beneficial work we provided to so many children in the area. I loved being the reason that so many kids smiled and enjoyed a dental visit. But even more, I really enjoyed being able to educate the kids and parents and provide preventative dental care. In my own life, I realized how much hard work towards your community can pay off. I learned so much about how to organize and listen to my classmates and instructors, listen to their ideas, and build from it. I gained an understanding into the time, effort, and generosity it takes to put on a volunteer event like we did. But I also learned that I can do it, and I want to do it again, and I will do everything I can to continue volunteer work throughout my professional career. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sydney Wadenager, and I was a first-year student this year, so it was my first experience with Give Kids a Smile, and it truly was an amazing experience to be able to participate in it and just be there to experience those kids, because for a lot of them, it was their very first dental visit, and being the reason that those kids left smiling and came in the door smiling was really incredible. And I've always had a passion for working with children, and it's something that I would love to continue to do, whether that's in the pediatric dentistry field. And yeah, it was just really great making it a fun experience for them, and just being able to provide them with education and health and knowledge towards positive oral health care was really rewarding. And I look forward to being running this event next year and giving back to the community, because it was such a great experience. And when I graduate, I plan to come back and do the exact same thing. And yeah, so thank y'all for listening.
Chair Co-Course Trustees, Dr. Hensley, thank you for the time to showcase two absolutely wonderful programs within health sciences, technical education, community programs. With that, we would entertain any questions.
Trustees, if I may, this is the close of the academic year. Here it is, May of 2022. And as I reflect upon what we've heard this morning and who we've seen, I want to thank our visitors from Prairie View University, thank you for joining us today. And to our retirees, many blessings, and thank you for your many years of service to Blinn College, and we look forward to welcoming you back soon. And Coach Johnson, you've been here only since 2019 and brought us to district championships and national championships, and congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame. And to our wonderful programs, Mary Pace, and to our adult education experiences that we have with so many in literacy. It's such an important vein of students that we might not otherwise bring into Blinn College. And so we're grateful that you were able to join us this morning and share a little bit about your unique program at Blinn to our trustees and to our Give Kids a Smile. It just makes you smile to listen to all of it. So we thank you so very much. And finally, one shout out particularly to John and to Matthew from Staff Council and from Faculty Senate. How gracious of you and how kind and thoughtful of you to come this morning and to share your resolutions with the administration and the Board of Trustees. It was a pleasure and an honor to try to get through these last 2 years together. And the fact that you took a moment to recognize that, it just means so much to us. So thank you for your presence. And trustees, with that then, I'll close the Chancellor's report, thanking you for a little bit of lengthier report than usual. And I'll return the podium back to Chair Colhorst at this time.
Thank you so much. These types of presentations are really why we're here, and kind of brings home the great important work that Blen does outside of what we do in this room. So thank you, all of you, for coming today and giving your presentations. Really means a lot. Okay, we will then move on to item B, presentation of financial statement package for the period ended April 30th, 2022. And I think Mr. Richard Cervantes is going to give that report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. It's always a pleasure to follow that. Changing lives and making dreams were the comments that I wrote down, and this is our business. The financials are nice and they're very good, but that's our business. So it's a pleasure to be here. Today, Mr. Chairman, we're going to be reporting on the year-to-date through April, which is the 8th month of the fiscal year, which puts us 2/3 of the way through the year. Our revenue is at $100.1 million this year through April, and 77.7 expenses, which leaves us a net of $22.4 million. It's a very, very good number for us. A good portion of that is still our HERF money. In the other, we have $13.3 million that's in that, and it also flows down to the bottom line. When we compare our activity to last year, we had $100.1 million in revenue this year, and we had $102.3 million last year, which is down 2.187. And part of that is the HERF money. We have more HERF money in 2021 than we had in 2022, about $3.3 million. And that's going to continue to be the case all the way through the end of the fiscal year. We're not going to be able to catch up, which is okay. Total expenditures are $77.7 million through April, compared in this year compared to last year was 74. That is a $3.7 million. And I'll explain a little bit of that as we go through the presentation. Our net change then is $22.4 million this year compared to $28.3 last year, which is $5.8 million less than what we had last year. Mr. Chairman, anything in April that takes us over 20 million is a plus. So we're really doing very well here. Maybe uncharted territory for us, but we're doing very well. Our revenue comparison by source, things are starting to even out a little bit from what we had the year before. You can see state appropriations is pretty close to what we had last year, as it should be. Tuition and fees is also catching up, actually a little bit more because of the tuition increases. The auxiliary sales and services is very different. It's mostly because of parking and students coming back to campus. You see property taxes also very close, interest very close. The other includes the HERF money, as I've just said. Our tuition and fees revenue, we budgeted $69.2 million, and our net tuition through April is almost $54 million, which brings us at 78% of the way of our budget. Our audit district, or the total tuition revenue is up almost $90,000, not even registering on the percentage there. Audit district is still down, but not by very much, but both in-district, audit district, and even the non-funded are increased from compared to last year. Our fee revenue is down, as we have said in previous meetings. The general fee you can see is almost it's almost where it was last year. So very close, but where we've lost the revenue has been in the lab course fees because of the technology and students that are not taking the distance ed courses that they had last year. That's the biggest portion of it. Workforce, still shouting out to those folks. They're doing a good job, even though this shows a decrease. I remind the board that back in 2021, there was an anomaly, close to $200,000 worth of grants that should have been in the previous fiscal year, but because of COVID, they held off doing the closing out and actually ended up into 2021. So they're actually ahead. Housing and food service revenue, actual versus budget, is we budgeted $11.1 million and we're at $6.9 million, 62% of our budget. So the total auxiliaries is up $1.4 million, a whopping 19%. Housing is down slightly, but food service, bookstore, and parking is the biggest one. As you can see, as students have returned to campus, is the largest increase in that area, in the auxiliaries. When we compare our total expenses, our variance is at $3.7 million. The bulk of that is the E&G, as you'll see in a second. That's the travel, that's the supplies, the consumables, utilities, and those sort of expenses that have gone up as students as well as staff have returned to campus. The payroll expense is at 52.41 as a percentage of our revenue dollar. I do expect that all of those you see for each of the years will ultimately go up to close to 60%. I don't see that would be any different here. The big part that I'd like to point out, because I keep saying it, I want you to look at, see if I can get this cursor to work here. There it is. So look at 2021 compared to 2022. So we have an increase in the utilities is where this maintenance is. You see the vast difference in travel compared to last year. And then the services, and then look at the consumables, how much that's gone up. So all of this as we return to campus, well, here's utilities actually. As we return to campus, there's more expenses, as you would expect. This is my promise to Trustee Moser that this debt service is going to go down below 7% by the end of the fiscal year. And you can see, even compared to Mr. Moser to 17, 18, 19, that we're below those numbers. So what is going to happen, Mr. Moser, is that we're done with the debt service. April was our last payment. So revenue is going to continue to go up while that expense is going to stay static. So it's going to go down. Expense comparison by category, we're up $3.7 million. Salaries and benefits are actually down about $500,000. The bulk of it, as I've said, increases in E&G expenditures. And we had budgeted R&R this year, whereas last year we didn't even budget in there, so it's included. Our operating expense by comparison, these are all very close to each other with the exception of auxiliary. There's some expenses there for food service as students have returned to campus that we've had to account for. It's a little bit higher. So our student cash and refunds in April totaled $1.8 million. The bulk of that is down here in the student payments, $2.1 million. We did issue some refunds of $319,000. The $39, I had to ask them, are you guys really getting us reimbursed for $39 with the Department of Education? You're really managing our money very well. This is some cleanup, and so it is accurate. I thought that was for Mr. Bohart. I'm sure saw that number there. Other cash receipts in April, $2.7 million. State appropriations is the bulk of it, $2.4 million, and we still continue to receive some of our proceeds from the damages that we had last year, $178,000 and a small amount of interest. We did not reimburse ourselves for any of the HERF money in April. So our use of cash in April is almost $12 million, which is sizably different than our average of 8.5, and it's because of this $2.4 million in construction and that debt service that I just mentioned. We made a payment at the beginning of April, $1.9 million. So in summary, we had $1.8 million that we received from students, and then we received from other sources another $2.7 million, but we ended up using almost $12 million. So that left us that deficit of 7.4. We pulled some of our money from the investment pool as some money, and also some money that we had in the operating bank to cover those. Our unrestricted cash and cash equivalents right now, or through April, is $127 million. Starting to break down this pie into just three different parts, so you do not see all of the activity that underlays this, but the funding for current projects is what the board has approved. That number will continue to go down as we go through the fiscal year. Funding probably will go up, would be my guess, because we still have a little bit of HERF money, and we also have some revenue, hopefully, that will exceed our expenses through the end of the year. But I would not expect this 127 to stay up there. It's going to continue to go down. Our higher education emergency relief funds, as we have said in previous meetings, we spent all of our student awards all the awards we received, and same thing for institutional strengthening. We still have $3.5 million available in our institutional funding. And there's the $3.5 million. As I've said, a good portion of that is going to go towards the HVAC. We also have some other projects that hopefully we'll be able to spend that. Our goal is to spend that by the end of the fiscal year. But if we do not, we have a little latitude. We have an extension that we received, as everybody has received from the federal government, to expend these, to have this money accounted for next year too, if we need to. I stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone have any questions? I don't think so. So I believe we will move on to item C, the presentation of an update on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2022-23. Mr. Cervantes, are you taking that as well?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. This is a continuation of our discussion that we had at the beginning of the month. We've only made one change to this area, and that is we've added a word in here. This is for Trustee Benke, who pointed out to us that we were not being specific enough, and so we have modified that so it's very clear. That does include the benefits. Everything else is pretty much the same. We haven't changed any of that. Same thing with this in terms of our updates to all of this is the same as what we had showed at the beginning of May. I'm not going to go through every one of these as we did at the Budget Audit Investment Finance Committee, but I did want to point out that we are still proposing a 4% salary increase. And I know there's been some interest on what we are doing at the lower level for staff. And this is kind of, this number, the $550,000 is what we are doing, or what HR has proposed, and the college is also recommending that we increase at the lower level the amount of funds that are coming in, or the rate of pay or the salary of entry-level positions. So the big difference between what the board did in May, and this is especially for the newer trustees, you approve rates as opposed to revenues. So the distinction is, as we get to June, you're going to approve the entire budget. So and I wanted to point this one out too. I said it at the last meeting, but I want to say it again, that the revenue for taxes We budgeted, we are proposing a budget that's exactly the same as what we had received in 2021, the fiscal year 21. We will have a continuing discussion in August to see where that number ultimately will go. But at this point, we're not doing anything different than what we did in 21. And then the other thing that I would point out is the miscellaneous revenues. You can see a vast difference over the last 3 years, and this is where the HERF money is. So there's a significant amount of money in 21 that a good portion of that had to do with HERF money, and then we budgeted a smaller amount last year. But in the proposal that we have for the upcoming fiscal year, we're not putting any HERF money in there at all. I wanted to show you this too. It kind of highlights, I went and found from the follow-up to the personal consumption expenditure, but this one's different. This is a forecast. And so what the organization that reports to the Federal Reserve is suggesting is at the end of 22, that last quarter, that ultimately we're going to end up around 4.3%. That's pretty close to the 4% that we're suggesting. You can see that they've even forecasted out the following, the 2 years after that, 2.7 and 2.3. Now, I would point out to the board that this is the same group that told us that in fiscal year 22 was going to be 2% as a sustainable inflation. And certainly they turned out to be incorrect about that. But on the other hand, they have to be, I would expect to have much more expertise than any of us in the room that would have to be able to predict what that number is going to be. So this is what we're looking at when we make some of the decisions that we're making when it comes to payroll. Even though we talked about the personal consumption, I wanted to show you this consumer price index. And essentially it's a different group, the IMF, but it's a different group, and they also are forecasting a decrease in the inflation rate. You see in 2022, their number is a lot higher than the personal consumption expenditure, but their numbers also go down as they forecast into future years. Our historical pay increases, I tried to match them up with what we did with the personal consumption expenditure, and I think what it shows me, by and large, is that what the board has proposed in every year except maybe 2022 is the numbers have, and there might have been one more, the percentage, the salary that the board has approved for us in each of these fiscal years has been above that personal consumption expenditure. So we've been trying to keep up as much as we can. The other thing that I saw as I looked at or researched some of it, the 4% that is being proposed, going with the exception of 2020 when the board approved a 5% increase in salaries, that 4% hasn't gone that high since 2015. I'm sorry, 2005. So it's almost 17, 18 years. So again, I think we've done a fairly decent job of managing this. Total operating expenses are going to match up with our proposed revenue. I don't think there's anything in here that I wanted to point out. The percentages are exactly the same. Nothing's changed in this regard. I will say this, that our budget is a work in progress, and it will continue to be modified all the way up to when you vote in June. I will try to point out some of those changes that we have. I don't expect that there will be any material changes, but we're always adjusting it to try to get everything in there up to the last minute. But right now, everything matches up, and I expect it will. It will continue to. This just shows on the far right, you'll see the proposed budget, and it does match up, the revenue matching up with the expenditures. The other part that I always like to say, and it goes back to that pie chart here, is on the far left, the academic and vocational, the instruction part, a mission of the college, and also the academic support, pretty close to about 50%. So we put our money where our budget is, basically, or put our budget where our money is, I guess, or something of that sort. It's our mission, and we try to put everything towards it, so it matches up. I'll say it one more time. We have, our repairs and renovations are going to be a little bit different than what we had last year. Nothing's changed this from what we showed you in, at the beginning of the month. We do expect that some of these items, especially the larger ones that are over 100,000, will show up on another list that you will receive in June before you vote. We compile a list of all of the projects or all the contracts that we have that we believe either do exceed 100,000 or will exceed 100,000, and we'll try to point them out to you. What we do when we are doing that, as well as our part of our goal here, is to provide some transparency, but also give ourselves a little bit of breathing room, because when the board approves it in June, if you approve it in June, you approve these expenditures, what we will do is we will not, when we decide to go out there for those projects that are greater than 100,000, we will go out there and issue an RFP to try to collect the proposals that come in to provide those services. But we won't come back to the board and say, give us permission to issue an RFP. So you're giving us a little bit more efficiency by doing it this way. We still will come back. For every project that's greater than 100,000, we still will come back and ask to negotiate and execute a contract, and we'll give you all that information. So we're just saving one step, and you can see this is only a fraction of all the different projects that we have out there. So we're trying to do whatever we can to make sure that we're not bottlenecking the operation. These are the repairs and renovations for the Brenham campus. And then the last was the board actually approved these for R&R for this fiscal year, but it does turn out that we're not going to be able to complete these. There may be some of it there because of delays in materials that we're not being able to receive. They'll actually be completed next year. We're going to ask the board to budget these in our unrestricted cash as opposed to our budget. So there's a slight distinction there too. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cervantes. Any questions, Douglas? I just could tell. I knew you were ready.
Excuse me. Yes, at our last meeting, I brought up an idea based upon the personal consumption expenditures graph that you showed at that time, where it shows that percent, I think, is a little over 5% now, even though I think some more recent data that's come out shows that is subsiding in its levels. And we're proposing a 4%, or the administration is proposing a 4% increase in salaries and benefits. And I think I mentioned at that time, you know, anytime you apply any percent to a $50,000 salary versus $100,000 or $150,000 salary, you end up with a lot more cash to spend if you are making the 100 in lieu of the 50, so forth and so on. And I was just thinking that, and I believe I even mentioned this, that those individuals who I would say, and I use the term at that time, below the median for the college, are going to be struggling a lot more than those who are fortunate enough to be having these higher levels of salaries. And I requested that the administration maybe look into this and see if we couldn't do something from a one-time stipend for those who may be below that median. And there are two approaches to that, I think. One is you could include it in the budget for next year. Or number two, you could maybe pay it in this year with a budget amendment to those individuals. And maybe the administration has not had a lot of time to pursue that or entertain that. But I really think it's important that we help those that need the most help right now. And our financial balance sheet, our excess cash, is pretty strong. So I continue to think we need to talk about that. And of course, I was the one doing the talking at that time, and I continue to support something like that. Of course, that will be up to you know, the entire board. So I just raise that point at this time, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
again, I think it's a good point. The notion that we have employees at the lower levels of pay, both pay rate as well as salary, is that absolutely true? That is part of the way that the process works. But I do think, Mr. Bohart, that the college is doing what it can, actually more than reasonably, to try to provide those at the lowest level increases that are far beyond the 4%. As I mentioned, that minimum rate salary there in the middle is the effort from the college's perspective to provide more resources to those employees that are at the lowest level. The median, I don't know that it goes all the way up to the median. Marie may be able to speak to that. But certainly we're raising up the minimum level for those that were making $11 or less than $15 all the way up to $15. Those increases at the $11 rate are in the 30% increases. They're way, way beyond the 4% that the college is requesting. And then the same thing for faculty. At the level of the entry level for faculty, there's also an increase there for those folks to, again, to make us a little bit more attractive. I don't know if we have the same goal in mind. And not only, Mr. Bohart, at that level, up to the $15 an hour, but also the levels that are above those, there will be a ripple effect. And I don't know that how many of folks that it will end up impacting, but picture some of those going up to, just like we did with the $15 level, to the $16 level, to the $17 level, to the $18 level. There is a level there where it ends. And I think it's probably, and again, Marie may be able to speak more to that than I can. And then the last thing that I would say is for those students that are on work study, that have been getting paid $8 an hour, the proposal here, even though it does not impact this budget, and I recall you ask or say that those funds flow back into the college from federal or state levels, so it's almost a reimbursement. But we're going to raise those rates up from $8 an hour to $11 an hour. Again, a very substantial increase, 30-something% for those students too. So, Marie, I would invite you if you would like to say something in addition to what I've said.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for listening this morning. We appreciate that. No, you're spot on, Mr. Cervantes, in terms of those numbers. If we raise our minimum to $15 an hour, that equates to $31,200. It is a 30.36% increase and goes and is incremental to those who obviously are possibly at $15 an hour already. We're changing the minimum as we go upward in the DBM scale. We've also removed the bottom scale if this is approved. So the bottom scale would then be of the DBM would be at A13 rather than an A12 with a minimum entry level salary rate of $15 per hour. When you talk about the medians, Mr. Bohart, if I look at full-time staff, the median salary, if I look at the average salary is $57,000. If I look at the median, it's about $46,000, and that's on the staff side of the house. And that includes both 9-month and 12-month employees. If I look at full-time faculty, and you include the base and the longevity, et cetera, the average is $62,743. The median is $61,885. So as you begin to see, I think, as Mr. Cervantes said, I think that we're continuing to make strides with the recommendations that we have brought forward. In addition to the minimum hourly rate going up to the $15 an hour, we're also increasing the entry level for faculty as well. And along those same lines, we have also increased to, prevent any sort of salary compression. We've also increased those minimums for the other DBM levels incrementally. So please let me know if you have questions.
So, Mr. Cervantes, just to clarify, the minimum rate salary increase that you guys are proposing in this budget, in effect, you guys are feeling like, in effect, that is accomplishing the stipend that Trustee Bohart is kind of proposing, because you're moving up the minimum wage from 11 to 15, or proposing that. So that's hitting that level of employee already at a rate of close to 30%.
Mr. Colcourse, in some areas, if they were at $11, yes, absolutely, they go up to 15. It's incrementally going to decrease as somebody's making $12 goes to 15. The percentage is going to be a little bit less, and then all the way up to 14 to 15. But they're still, even if they're at 14 and they go to 15, they're still going to be 8% or so, or it's far greater than the 4%. I would say there's another difference between a stipend. A stipend does not have the opportunity to increase the base salary for somebody. So if there's increases in future years, they would not be able to realize it off of those. So that's another important distinction that I would make. I think by doing it the way that we're doing it, as an employee that stays here, as long as some of our employees do, they will benefit from some of those increases as the base has gone up.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have left out the people above the 31.2 as was reflected in those up to the median, which I think is between 57 and 61,885, if I understood that correctly. And I do believe that this rate of increase that we're seeing, hopefully, for all of our sake, will decline going forward in time. But these folks need the help now. And I think I still propose that some stipend for those will help them now when they need it the most. And hopefully the future economic activity of this country will level off. So I'm hoping it's a peak that will come back down to be something more representative. So anyway.
Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Boer, I think it's a fair discussion to have. And I think it's one that we should always be looking in, and I do think Blen does, to look at the lower level employees and make sure that they are not having a negative paycheck for sure. And this is an extreme situation. There's no doubt about it. So when faced with that, we are doing what I think is reasonable. Could you do more? You could always do more. What that would do in terms of impacting your financial situation, like the $550,000 is not going to have that big of an impact, but we've got to be careful. And this would be my caution to the board. Whenever you're talking about pay increases, and there's a subjective level of discussion that comes along with it, and that is fairness. And when you do that, if you try to disrupt that too much, there's winners and there's losers, and that could create a whole new slew of problems for you. So you have to be careful about it. As I said at the last meeting, I look at human resources. They're the experts at it. They look at this stuff day in and day out. I do not. And I would defer to their expertise to be able to provide a recommendation that I believe that they believe is fair. And so that's where I go. That's where I stand on it.
Any other
Mr.
discussion? Yeah.
Mr. Cervantes, this is Marie. If I may, Mr. Bohart, I do appreciate your sensitivity to this issue. And I do want to point out, and I think we discussed this in our last meeting, that Dr. Hensley also has been very sensitive to those needs. And that was reflected in something that we also did last year. We did give the 2% plus an additional amount to our lowest paid employees. So that is something that we have done in the past. And I do appreciate your sensitivity to that level of employee. Absolutely. Thank you.
Trustee Mosier.
I'd like to comment on just for a little bit differently than Douglas's view or take on it. He's always got a little more knowledge of the numbers than I do, or his. But I do think that I've just thought about this since our budget meeting, and I think our staff and faculty has. And we've talked about it here today in saluting the people that have done so much. And we were shown some resolutions by staff and faculty. But, I think we ought to look at maybe stretching a little bit. I mean, we have invested significantly in facilities, and so forth. And we had we were making good headway. We've kind of slacked off on our salaries in the last, obviously, with under the conditions that existed in the economy the last couple of years. And the 4%, I think, is great. But I think we ought to just look at stepping on up to the 5%. And again, I'm not going to go back and I don't know how to calculate all the various means and under the mean and that over the mean, but I know we're talking about roughly $550,000 a point on the budget. That extra 500, I don't know, there may be a way to take that extra point and put it to best use. I don't know about that. That's not my job necessarily, but I do think we've remained strong financially, and I think that it's important that we keep in mind how we got to where we are, and it's the folks that are out there doing the job of teaching and supporting the teaching staff, and we've continued to not retreat from a very aggressive acquisition of buildings and property and so forth. And I think we need to take that same attitude when we consider our staff and what their situation is. And while I don't have a real proposal to make, I just think we ought to look at maybe stretching ourselves a little bit and pushing from a 4 to a 5% increase.
Trustee Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur 100% with Trustee Mosier as well as Trustee Bohart. Blen has excelled in just about every area, academically, athletic, and the arts. And it's the students and the staff that make that happen. So I don't have an issue with us spending money on buildings and all that stuff, but buildings don't produce the results. It's the people who produce the results. So if we're top tier in other areas, we should be top tier as it relates to that, students as well as staff. So that's just my feedback.
Any other thoughts or comments?
Question. So if we did the 5%, what we're discussing now, that's for the salaried? I guess what I'm wondering is how does that impact the ones that we're talking about with the $11 to $15 increase per hour? Are they still getting the 5%?
No.
That's what I thought, so.
No, or 4%.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
If we discussed and chose to move to 5 from 4, what is the process in regards to our discussion and approval?
Trustees, thank you for this wonderful conversation. First of all, we have looked at a 5% and came within a hair's breadth of proposing that, but we're a little bit more cautious and conservative, but we would be delighted to bring forward the 5%. Working with Marie and Richard and I and several staff members, we have already run those numbers and we're confident that they are very doable. And so the process would be that we would bring it back in the June meeting with a 5% in there. You already know the 4%. We could show you the comparison, and the administration's recommendation then at that time would be the 5%. And then the board would vote on the overall budget. One would either contain the 4% or the 5%. Additionally, Marie, if you could come back online for just a moment, because I know you've been involved in these conversations with Richard and May. Would you confirm what I have said or add anything to it? And also, would you speak to the impact that it would have on the lower end of those on the DBM scale?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Hensley. Those are numbers that we have already considered. And I think all of us would be delighted if the board chose to, approve a 5% increase. However, in raising the minimum to $15 an hour, that would not impact those folks, because how that works is they would either get the 5% or the $15 an hour, the 16, 17, whatever is more, whatever number is greater.
So if it's the desire of the board, we will come back at the June board meeting with a proposal of a recommended 5% from the administration. And if that's acceptable, you would accept that within the entire budget approval. And you could also have the opportunity to discuss it and change it back to the 4% if you desire.
Is everyone okay with them bringing the 5% to our next meeting so we can discuss? All right, let's do that.
Trustees, thank you so very much. We were thrilled to hear this conversation today, and I speak on behalf of all faculty and staff I know who were smiling in the audience and will hear this word of appreciation and support for our faculty and staff from our Board of Trustees, and I know that they would want to thank you.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Now we will move on to the consent item portion of our agenda, item 5. All items listed in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Trustees and will be enacted upon one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a trustee so to request, in which event the item will be removed from consent and considered in discussion and possible action. Trustees receive agenda materials in advance of the meeting to prepare for the business to be conducted. The only item on that agenda is the approval of the minutes for the April 19, 2022 regular meeting. Looking for a motion.
I move that we accept the entire consent decree.
Trustee Wells, Trustee Aylard on a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, now we move on to item 6 on the agenda, discussion and possible action items. A, authorization for the administration to negotiate and execute a contract for painting contractor services related to the Wheeler Hall interior repainting on the Brenham campus. Mr. Cervantes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr.
Yes, Mr.
Feldhake
Hall.
is going to make the presentation much better than I can.
Great, thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Colcourse, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. I'm here to present to you agenda item 6A, which is a request for authorization for administration to negotiate and execute painting contractor services with a company called Allen Co. Finishes LLC. This project is to complete additional interior repainting that wasn't done as part of the winter storm last summer. So we want to repaint the whole south wing, which wasn't affected last summer as part of the winter storm, as well as the outer portions of the east and the west wings of Wheeler Hall, which weren't affected by the winter storm. So on April 26th, the college district received 6 proposals. We had very good turnout in response to the request for proposals for painting contractor services. A committee reviewed and scored these proposals, and based on the committee's recommendations, the administration recommends that the board authorize administration to negotiate and execute a contract with Allen Co. Finishes LLC, they're out of Cyprus, for $140,000 for painting contractor services to repaint these interior portions of Wheeler Hall, drywall walls, drywall ceilings, some doors and frames. Funds for this project are available from the FY22 repairs and renovations budget. And upon the board's approval, we will negotiate and execute this contract with Allen Co. and get them going so we can get this work done this summer. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Yes, sir. Trustee Bohart.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
good morning.
Good morning.
You were anticipating a question from me. I know. I just have a question about the composite scoring. You had a Linco at the top with about a 97% score. But my question is, this was for $140,000. Were there others that were more or less on the pricing side?
Allen Co. was they did have the lowest price, but again, we evaluate in addition to the lowest price, we evaluate
Right.
based on
Understand.
qualifications as well.
Okay.
There were contractors that did go up in price from there as well. Yeah.
I was just curious that maybe in the future, we can have both listed there as the composite and the dollars, so we can see the financial impact and any variance. Just a thought after I looked at that this morning.
Sir,
Thank you, Mark.
Any other questions? There being none, I would ask that the board, looking for a motion that the board authorize the administration to negotiate and execute a contract with Allen Co. Finishes LLC for painting contractor services related to the Wheeler Hall interior repainting on the Blen Brenham campus.
So moved.
Trustee Bohart makes the motion. Trustee, who are you? Krausen makes a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, we will move on to item 6B, authorization for the administration to negotiate and execute a contract for the college district's online proctoring services. Mr. Cervantes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. The recommendation is that the board authorize the administration to negotiate and execute a contract with Honor Lock Incorporation for online proctoring services. The administration issued a request for proposals last year in June 2021 to provide these services. The current contract that we have, which is also with Honor Lock, will expire July 31st of this year. The reason for the delay is that there were a number of issues, and then clearly we were not in a hurry to be able to do this. We had plenty of time. But there were questions that surfaced on the contract associated with the usage of services that were provided and that were given to Blen. So we worked our way through that maze. Of course, they wanted to charge us some money, and we didn't really want to pay. So we were able to walk our way out of that and move us into a different contract. The contract that we had prior with Honor Lock specified that we were to receive services up to a certain number of students that used the service. The differences that we had is it didn't really specify what happens when we went over that. And during COVID, we went over it. We used those services a lot more. So we had quite a bit of discussion about that, and pointed out to them their contract really didn't specify that. So but we received the services, so we tried to be fair about it. At the end of the day, while we were looking at the RFP, they rose to the top. The faculty were more than satisfied with the services that they were providing. They were adding a feature in there last year that we were not being charged for, and this year they wanted, or this upcoming contract, they wanted us to pay for it. And then we said we do not want to get into a contract that essentially has a ceiling on it, and then we pay more if there's anything that goes over. So we're able to discuss with them the possibility of removing that feature of it. So now we're going to get charged a flat fee, and I think it ultimately ended up working out in our favor. So the budgeted expense this coming year will be $383,000. That will be, in upcoming years, it will be more than that, $480,000. We paid initially for this service somewhere around $280,000 under the old contract. That was when they were forecasting that we would have 16,000 students that would use the service. There's 23,000 students that had, and above, that use the service. So that's part of the reason for the escalation. We more than budgeted for this. We anticipated the price would go up. That is part of why we asked for the technology fee to cover some of these expenses. We have another different sort of what we're looking at in the future is different than what we originally contracted with them for. We now know that faculty want to test even though they may be face-to-face. They find some advantages to doing that. They save classroom time that they can use for that particular purpose for instruction as opposed to testing. And so that feature's changed. They've added this feature that will come in that will automatic intelligence or something of that sort. The AI, I probably have the wrong acronym. What is it called? Artificial. Thank you, artificial intelligence. So what it will do is, and this is what we did not pay for this year. It will study the student, and then if it indicates to them there's some sensitivity that they're moving this way or they're looking over here, then a person will come on, and that's the pop-in feature that we now are going to have to pay for, and the faculty want. I'll stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman. Hopefully I explained that. It definitely was out of my lane, but I tried.
Any questions? Trustee Binky?
How many years is the contract for? And you said it's less the first year and then it goes up?
Yes. So the first year is significantly less, and then the next 2 years are exactly the same. They'll be 480,000, and I'm just rough top of my head, somewhere around there. Part of what we negotiated down is that was such a sizable leap for us that we asked them if they could reduce that first year as well as remove all these other things that they were doing, and they conceded and said, yeah, we'll do it. It was a struggle, but I think we're in a place where we feel comfortable with what they're suggesting.
Any other questions?
I would just say, kind of harping on what Douglas said, we used to see a matrix of what the composite score really doesn't mean anything to us because we don't know what it's made of. So I'd like to see that. What does that mean? How much are they? What are the features something has and something doesn't have in the future?
We can add those. So just one caution. Is some of these contracts that there's not such a, you're more interested in making sure you get the service that you want as opposed to how much, but price is always a factor. And so when we go out there and we issue an RFP, we get points for how much it's going to cost us. So it's a factor. But in some instances, it's not the largest factor. We want to make sure that we're getting what we want. But I don't think there will be any issue with us providing that in the future. But just that word of caution to the board that just because something's less expensive, it maybe shouldn't be something that we should jump to. And I think the administration has a responsibility to explain why that's happening. I think that's a reasonable thing of why we would put it there and explain why we might be going with the higher vendor.
Well, I think it would give this board an opportunity to at least ask a question about something and give you guys an opportunity to defend it. So
That's fair enough.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion that the board authorize the administration to negotiate and execute a contract with HonorLock, Inc. for the college district's online proctoring services. Trustee Ehlert makes the motion. Trustee Binky seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, board.
Thank you so much. Okay, now that moves us to item 7 on the agenda, executive session. In accordance with 551.071 and 551.072. And I would say, let's take a 10-minute break. Trustees, it is 11:52 a.m. Okay, well, see, you know, we're conservative, but we're not as conservative as you thought.
Fine with me. I ain't.